Hello and welcome. This is James Blanchard Cisneros at your service. Today I'll be reading the July 19th Daily Inspirational Message, the condensed version. It's 2 paragraphs long. Then I'll center myself to a little prayer and then make a few comments on the message. And if you find the message of use, please be so kind as to like the video. Thank you for that. Here we go, the title. The Ego and the Illusion of Separation. Paragraph 1. One of the ego's main fuel sources is judgment. Thus, for the ego to survive and thrive, it must convince us that it is safe for us to judge and condemn others. It does this by programming us to focus on the seeming separate nature of our bodies instead of the eternal sameness in our souls. It is key for the ego to convince us of our separateness, because then we will believe that we can judge others, in quotes, without that action hurting us. The ego's reward system tells us that our judgments of others strengthen us and weakens them, thus giving us power over them. As always, the ego's delusional thinking is in complete opposition to the loving truth within us all. In reality, being all one, any and all attack-filled judgments weaken us, regardless of how, in quotes, in the right, end quote, the ego insists we are to do so. This happens because such thoughts, words, or actions must first travel through us. Paragraph 2. Today, let us decipher the signs of oneness and separation. When we align our thoughts with oneness, we support and bring into our experiences energies such as forgiveness, compassion, trust in the divine, love, peace, and joy. When we align our thoughts with separation, with the ego's mindset, we support and bring into our experience energies such as judgment, anxiety, frustration, anger, fear, resentment, hate, guilt, and shame. We have the final say over the thoughts we think, and thus the kind of life we experience. All these energies begin as a thought within our mind. Only we can decide how much we think and entertain a thought. The thought only exists as long as we support it with our time, focus, and energy. Today, let us take greater personal responsibility to only support thoughts that will help us create a sense and experience of oneness, of love and non-judgment on earth. All right, the ego and the illusion of separation. Okay, today I'm going to make 5 points that I trust will assist both of us in the implementation of today's daily inspiration. Point number 1. Okay, the ego and the illusion of separation. What the ego needs from you, from us, is that it needs us to believe in its thought system. Because if we don't believe in its thought system, the ego, begins to dissolve away into the nothingness from which it came. And so the ego's goal, in point number 1, is to have us believe in its thought system and have us believe that we can use the thought system and that its thought system is useful, such as those tools of anger and frustration and resentment and shame and guilt and hopelessness, sadness. It says all those tools, they're somewhat useful to you, they're somewhat helpful to you. They will bring you what you truly want. But the thing is with the ego is always this. The ego is always search but do not find. And so if you search for what you truly desire, which is to be at peace, to be joyful, to be the light of the world that God created you to be, you'll never get there through the ego's path. The ego's tools and mindset never deliver to you the peace of mind and joy you want. So that's point number 1. Pay attention to what the ego wants from you, to believe its mindset as true, the false as true. Point number 2, the ego, to do this, to have us believe in its mindset, has us try to also believe that we're separate from each other. Okay, That body over there is separate from your body. And so whatever you do to that body does not affect you. So you or me can judge that person without those judgments, those frustrations and anger and resentment and sense of revenge hurting me. So I can feel all that about him or her, and it doesn't affect me. That's what the ego says. That's a body, you're separate, so you can judge them without hurting yourself. And so you want to think, okay, is that true? Can I judge my brother and sister without that hurting me? Where do those judgments, that anger, that resentment come from? How does it flow? It has to flow through me first, right? I have to think those thoughts. I have to have them live within me. And then I project them out into the world. And so that anger, that resentment, that hatred, that sense of revenge resides within me. And so if I think those thoughts about them, I'm poisoning myself because I'm reinforcing what's not true about me as true. And so don't buy, and point number 2, don't buy into the ego's idea that that person is separate from you and so you can judge them and you have no problems. Remember, it's not, in truth, the truth is not that duality. The truth is oneness. We're all one. And so what I offer to you, I experience myself. And I reinforce within myself. If I offer you forgiveness and compassion and understanding, I reinforce those beliefs within myself as I offer them to you. Okay, so that's point number 2. We're not separate bodies, we're all one. Point number 3, the ego tries to use its tools and tells us, okay, if you use my tools, this is the ego speaking, if you use my tools, then you'll be strengthened and the other person will be weakened. You'll have the power and that person will be powerless. But as a very old-time comedian once said, Buddy Hackett, don't carry a grudge because when you do, the other guy's out dancing. So the ego says, okay, you judged and condemned your brother or sister, right? So the ego says, you have the power because you judged and condemned. While your brother and sister's out there having a good time, enjoying himself or herself, and you're here with these negative, heavy thoughts. And so judgment and any of the ego's tools do not give you that power that the ego says that it does. Those tools imprison you within your own mind. They chain you to the past. And so you never get to experience the holy instant, the present moment as it truly is, available for all of us to experience and enjoy. And so, and point number 3, don't believe the ego when it says, if you judge and condemn and use any of my tools, then you'll be strengthened and they'll be weakened. You'll have the power and they'll be powerless. Those are lies. Everything the ego says is lies. And that's when we get to point number 4. Recall that the ego's mindset is trying to find a place in this world for itself. It cares about itself first and then you. And so, but the problem that the ego has is that God is love and all. And so all that's really true is that love. And so if you try to create a mindset in opposition to love, to God, then if the opposite of all must be nothing. The opposite of love must be fear. The opposite of truth must be illusionary. And so the ego is always illusionary in nature. The ego will never tell you anything that's real or true. But you can use it. You can use it to triggering you the reminder of who you are not. So when that ego speaks of anger and judgment and resentment and shame and guilt, when it speaks of all those things, just say, oh, thank you very much. You know what? I'm not those things. I know I'm not those things because they're coming from you. They're coming from the ego. And so just think thoughts that are in opposition to what the ego thinks. So when the ego demands judgment, you've played that game before, you don't want it anymore, you offer forgiveness. If the ego condemns, you offer compassion. If the ego makes you fearful or anxious or worried, you say, no, I've played that game before, it never delivers me, the peace and joy that I want. It never brightens my light that God created me to be. I do not desire your tools or mindset anymore. Thank you very much. Now I'm going to offer the opposite of what you are demanding. And so in point number 4, you can just use the ego's demands to do the opposite of what it wants. Or you can just see the ego's tools and mindset as nothing that's truly real and just forgive it and let it go. And the last point is simply to take note of the symbols of separation and the symbols of oneness. We're all one. That's the truth within us all. That love, that one love. Okay? So all that is true about that is our expressions of that love, of that light, that compassion, that healing, that joy, that peace. That's what's true about us, and that's what we came here to do. But it's also useful to know and note the symbols of the ego's tools and mindset. And so whenever you're in a situation and you start to judge your brother or sister because they somehow triggered something in you, just recognize, okay, whoa, judgment is of the ego. Resentment and anger are of the ego. I do not want what's of the ego. I don't want my thoughts, words, and actions to be birthed from the ego's mindset. And so I simply stop those thoughts right there in its tracks when I recognize that I'm following the ego's mindset, when I'm following the mindset of separation and fear. And stop those thoughts, come back to center, come back to oneness. Come back to offering the expression of love that your brother or sister appears to be requesting. And so you use your time, focus, and energy on those symbols of oneness, those symbols of love and light. And you end that time, focus, and energy you spend in the ego's tools and mindset. And you also practice recognizing what those tools are, so that when you catch yourself supporting them with your time, focus, and energy, you're able to catch yourself quicker and quicker. And the quicker you catch yourself in the delusional mindset, the less time you have to spend there, and the quicker you can come back to center and offer the love that you were created by God to be, that oneness. Thank you very much for your time. I love you very, very much. If you can be so kind as to like or comment on this video, it would help with the listening process. And God willing, we'll see each other tomorrow. Peace.